Yeah, there it is. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the annual general meeting of ISACA South Florida. We're thrilled to have you with us tonight. You are in the right place. I'm going to go ahead and show the agenda just real quick before we get on to the fun stuff of the evening. So, as you can see, tonight we are covering in the first hour from 6 to 7 the guest presentation by Sanjay Deo, which is enabling cyber risk management with data analytics. We're very excited about that. Lots of great content that we're looking forward to. And then in the second half, from 7 to 8, we'll have our chapter status update. We'll do some recognition and achievements and talk about the scholarships, which we do every year. We'll install the new board, very exciting. We'll thank first the old board for all the hard work that they did for the current fiscal year that is ending, and then we'll install the new board, and then we'll take a look at the outlook for some events that are coming up and some considerations and some feedback from you about the types of things that you want to do going forward. As a reminder, I'm Rob Valdez. I'm currently serving as the chapter president for ISACA South Florida, and I am now entering the last year that I'll be allowed to do so. It's up to a 2-term maximum, and this is the second half of my second term. So I'll be serving as the president for another 12 months, and then another officer will come in as president, as well as the other officers as well, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We're also thrilled to have with us tonight Sandra Paris, who is the director of programming, who has worked very hard to produce one of the most busy programming calendars that I think I've ever seen an ISACA chapter put together. So very, very much thanks, Sandra, for everything that you've done to make that happen. As a quick reminder, some real brief housekeeping stuff. There will be a Q&A at the end of Sanjay's presentation in just a moment. You're more than welcome to use the question and answer module that's in the Zoom platform in order to write questions for Sanjay to answer. And then there's also going to be some polling questions that are going to be in the second half of the presentation. So and with that in mind, if you can either use the Zoom client that's in the desktop, then that's probably the best experience possible. The next best experience would be to use the web browser with Chrome, and then the other alternatives are sometimes not quite as reliable after that. But regardless of which format you're using, we're thrilled to have you with us tonight so that we can share with you some great thought leadership and share with you some chapter business. So on to that more exciting part. It's my pleasure to introduce and welcome Sanjay Deo, the president and founder of 24/7 Security, Inc., which specializes in cybersecurity and compliance services. Sanjay is relied upon by board members and C-level executives for his expertise in cyber security and compliance. Sanjay also acts as a breach coach when necessary and has negotiated on behalf of his clients in order to recover from ransomware attacks, something that I'm sure some professionals at Colonial Pipeline this year would have appreciated, or this week. And Sanjay also serves on the board of South Florida CIO Council and co-chairs South Florida CISO Forum. He's a member of HIMSS, Privacy and Security Committee, dedicated to risk assessment in healthcare industry, and is active in South Florida InfraGard Alliance, serving as Chief of Information Technology Sector. So with that, I'll stop sharing and please ask for Sanjay to start his sharing, and welcome, Sanjay.
Rob, thank you for allowing me and I guess my company to present today. Longtime supporter. It is a pleasure. I see a number of folks who are attending. Hello, good evening. Some new faces, some folks that I have known for a long time. And again, Rob, great job. Sandra, awesome. To the, congrats to the board. And, any way we can help, we will absolutely help. This presentation being about data analytics, when Rob actually called us about 4 weeks ago, there was like a lot of confusion in my head, right? So because cybersecurity is a field in itself, data analytics is a field in itself, right? And the debate in my head was which is bigger, and all of that started to happen. But then, eventually everything rested down to, I think there is a correlation between how data analytics is helping cybersecurity professional. So with that, as I was perusing through the participants, I'm looking for data. Data basically is the information. I'm translating all of these people who are attending, trying to figure out who are these people. And one name caught my mind, this gentleman or lady, I have to be careful, YFN WF5XF9X4F. Amazing. I have been to 35 different countries. I have visited a number of states in the US, and trying to figure out from a data analytics perspective, who is this person, right? And is this the person that perpetrated the crime on the Colonial Pipeline? I don't know. By the way, I think I just heard just before getting on this call that the Colonial Pipeline issue is gone. I think it is. The oil is flowing. So probably this person is here trying to figure out, okay, what's the next they can do? But I don't know who this is. I don't know, Rob, if you know who this person is, or, but anyway, I think we will continue right before. But again, it was one of those things, right? Data analytics, we are looking for anomalies, and this is an anomaly, right? Over the last 50 years, I have learned names, and so I can recognize valid name. This name I couldn't figure out, right? The geolocation, but that's exactly what data analytics is about. Looking through all the data, identifying meaningful data elements that actually help you to figure out whether it is good data or bad data. But anyway, so moving on with the presentation, again, this is a very boring topic. Data analytics and cybersecurity are pretty boring topics because we've been living this literally 25 hours a day for the last, I don't know how many years. I guess I've been doing it for the last 30 years. That tells you, I think many of you have heard me say that I saw my first hack Christmas Eve 1990. So I've been doing this for 31 years. At that time, nobody knew what internet, IT security, all of these things were about. But fast forwarding now, right? So what is data analytics? I think that was one of the things that started to for me, I guess I was trying to figure out what is. So data is the primary business asset, right? We are generating so much data from within the company and analyzing the data in many ways. And here we are going to be talking about from a cybersecurity perspective. So we're not going to be talking about retail or behaviors of consumers or behaviors B2B and all of those kind of things. I think here we're going to try to figure out how to use that data that our company is generating, operational data, IT data, equipment data, human data that's getting generated. How do we take all of the data and make sense of it and apply to cybersecurity? I think that's sort of the goal of this conversation. So I'm going to flip between just pure data analytics and terminology of data analytics, and then I will try to see if we can draw some parallels of how to use that into cybersecurity. If you have any questions, again, I think hold the questions till the end because we only have 50 minutes for me to speak. This is a topic that can go on and on and on. Similar to cybersecurity, I can speak about cybersecurity for hours and hours. Similarly, data analytics. So just hold your questions till the end. Data analytics is the science of analyzing volumes of raw data. So the thing that we will talk about is what is this data? Where is the data coming from? How to make sense of this data? Are there best practices? Are there techniques within data analytics that can be used? And so on, so forth. So I think one of the things that comes to mind is amongst the audience, if you folks can use polling, and let me see if I can set up the polling. Rob, is the polling set up already, or?
Yeah, yes, it is. And
Okay.
yeah, I can also bring up any question that you want if that's helpful. Oh, and also I don't think if you're trying to share your slides already, I don't think we're seeing them quite yet.
Oh, you're not able to see my slides? I'm so
No,
sorry.
I apologize. I had taken it back. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I'm going to bring up polling question number 1.
Yeah.
And I'm going to launch that right now.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So I think the question over here is, does your company use any data analytics tool for cybersecurity, right? It could be anything. It could be an analyst in the back. It could be Excel spreadsheets. We have seen that. It could be a SIM. It could be Splunk already built in with all of those excellent, I guess, graphs and stuff like that. So, here I think as we look at the polling that's coming out, we have a pretty good sample of over 55 people, I think, are there on the call. And so, it is sort of, 59-60% say that yes, their companies are using some kind of tools to do data analytics within the purview of cybersecurity. Again, I want you to be careful about, data analytics for other purposes. We are talking about using data analytics tools, concepts in cybersecurity to go find the good guys and the bad guys, right? Keep the good guys in, keep the good data in, and make sure that the bad guys are kept outside. So using data analytics for that purposes. So thank you again. This is great data. 60%, 59, 60%, 35 people basically say yes, they use. And 24 of them basically say they don't have anything like that within the company. So, what are the benefits of analytics, right? I think if you look at the amount of data our companies are using, again, the number of devices we have in our companies, number of networking devices, networking elements, servers, endpoints, mobile devices, number of people logging in, Excel spreadsheets flying around, basically, people try to logging in, so password success and password failures, right? That's the data that can help you. So benefits of the data analytics are better business decisions. You can make good decisions. You can basically get to, I think one of the most important thing in cybersecurity, the benefit of using data analytics is to get to the answer, whether this is a bad packet or a good packet, whether this is a bad machine or a good machine, whether this connection is a bad connection or a good connection. The person who's trying to log in, is that person a good person or the wrong person? I think that's where the benefits in cybersecurity are, and if you actually start to look for the evolution of analytics, right? As I said, there is a manual way to do this, then there is Excel spreadsheet to do this. But then if you actually start to look at the tools, technologies that's available to us, what are the different stages of the evolution? Business intelligence is basically standard reporting, right? Take the data and run your tools and come up with standard reporting. The next step, the evolution, the maturity of that program is called data science. And I think that's where in the last 10 years, we are seeing ourselves evolve. In cybersecurity, I think this data science element is sort of lagging in my view. I think there is a lot of sales mumbo jumbo, marketing mumbo jumbo taking place. Again, if you notice, I have tried to keep the two bad words out of this presentation. I don't know if you want to guess those two bad words, right? ML, machine language, and AI. 90% of the salespeople I talk to couldn't tell you what AI is. Even if I showed them the definition of AI, they wouldn't know any of that. And I've tried to keep all of that out of this presentation because, again, we can spend hours and hours talking about ML and AI and all of those kind of things. So I'm going to stick to analytics over here. The evolution from data science is ML and AI when you start to evolve from there, predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics, what will happen and what should I do? I think data science gives you those answers. Business intelligence gives you the standard of whatever happened, right? Whatever happened, you can run a report and figure out what happened. That's business intelligence. But if you want to mature to, what should I do? That is all about data science, taking the data that you have, correlating the data, and coming up with answers starts to venture into the data science piece of cybersecurity. We are starting to see some semblance, but I think the data science piece within cybersecurity is still very primitive. And the reason why I say it is primitive is just to give you a quick example, right? So data science is being used to cater to audience, right? When you go to Amazon, based on your history of the buying pattern, right? What did you buy? What color did you buy? What objects did you buy at what frequency? Amazon is able to show you the propensity of what you may buy today, right? That is data science. With the current tools and technologies that we have in cybersecurity, I can't, sitting in front of a SIM, tell you, hey, this person or this IP address or this country is going to attack us next. I don't think we have gotten there yet. We are starting to get there yet. I think some of the tools and technologies are available, not to us, but I think the state actors have that. But having said that, I think we're going to just stick to the regular stuff that's available to us common humans and go from there. From the analytics side, what are the 4 different techniques, right? There is descriptive, there's diagnostic, there's predictive, and there's prescriptive, right? Descriptive is explain what happened, right? With the data you have, running reports, big data, small data, again, all sales and marketing gobbledygook. But if you take the data, you run the reports, it tells you what happened. If you actually start to apply certain algorithms, it'll explain why it happened. Now, when it gets to forecasting and the recommendation piece, that's when the data science piece comes, the predictive and prescriptive. I think within cybersecurity, that's where we are starting to go, is it's starting to tell us the stuff that is about to come or where is it to come and what to do next, I guess. So that's basically, we will sort of explore a little bit as we go forward, right? So from a descriptive perspective, looks at the historical data from specific time, reviews the past performance, and answers what happened. So from a forensics perspective, it is great, right? When the forensics guys go in and they collect all of the data, and then they will ask you, hey, can you show me the firewall rules? Because what they're trying to find out is if there is any exfiltration, they are now taking the data from that specific disk device that they're analyzing, and they then basically try to figure out if there was an exfil connection going out. So they are going to look for and ask you for these kinds of data elements. And if you have more sophisticated logs that you're collecting, then you may be able to do some of this in an automated query fashion. If not, then you will have to literally dig around for all of these syslogs and logs from firewalls. And then the forensics guys will come in and correlate that for you. The diagnostic piece is, why did this happen, right? So was it a malware? Was it a ransomware? Was it an email that got clicked by a person who wanted the $15 Starbucks gift card? That's basically the diagnostic piece. Why did this happen, right? So most of the tools and technologies that are available in the SIM, in the EDRs, the MDRs that are being sold right now, these 2 things are there. The predictive thing is starting to get where we need to be, right? If you look at the amount of data that's being produced within the company, right? So so how can we predict? I think this is where it's starting to get a little bit from an ethical perspective, things are getting interesting, right? Behavior. I think when you start to look at the predictive piece, the behavior starts to come in, and that's when, the acceptable use policy. How is your acceptable use policy written? Is there words every employee basically does not or cannot expect any, does not have any expectation of any privacy? That means the company is monitoring. What that means is you are now monitoring the device which the employee is using. You're monitoring the key card that the employee uses to come into your facility in and out. You're monitoring at what days and hours the employee is connecting through VPN to come in. And this is the part where in the past, again, disconnected data, right? If an employee showed up on a Saturday, right, and checked in, there's a badge reader. The person used the badge reader, came in on Saturday at 3 o'clock, worked on the local desktop, downloaded a bunch of contact information, contact data. We have seen this happen in the sales department and marketing department a lot, that if the employee wants to leave, the employee starts coming in at odd hours and starts downloading deal data, contact data. And unfortunately, because that employee is not sending emails or connecting on Google Drive or anything like that, they're just downloading it on their USB drive. The cybersecurity, the InfoSec team doesn't know what exactly is going on. But if there is a way for you to correlate the badge reader, and that badge reader can tell you who the employee is, and you have the employee behavior from the login logouts, you will immediately be able to take a look and see, hey, why is this employee logging in on a Saturday? Why is this employee who has never come into the company on a Saturday suddenly started logging in on a Saturday, right? So what is most likely to happen? These are some of the clues that you can get. If there are agents on your endpoints that tell you if this employee is downloading significant amount of data or deleting significant amount of data, that starts to give the InfoSec folks a clue. Hey, why is this employee starting to delete a lot of data? So this employee showed up on a Saturday, 2 Saturdays in a row, that is downloading a lot of stuff somewhere and deleting all the data. Don't you think that is a concern, right? The HR folks can only see one dimension, but the InfoSec people can see the anomaly of the data. This is starting to happen in companies. If you're on Office 365, I don't know how much you know about the administrative part of Office 365, but your admin gets notification if you delete large amounts of data, if you transfer large amounts of data. Your admin, if they have set up the right privileges or right alerts, your admin will get, this person deleted so many different files in such a short period. So the velocity and the number, Office 365 inherently is detecting that and reporting, right? So you have to pause and think about it. Most of you InfoSec people may know, you may already be using this if you have access to the Office 365 admin console. But that basically starts to give you, quote unquote, the predictive piece, what is most likely to happen. I don't think we have gotten to the what should we do, right? The prescriptive piece, most advanced technique, most valuable to the business. This is the part that still, I think a number of companies are working on. And I think that's where AI is going to come into the picture. Machine learning is still making the predictive piece stronger, but machine learning will not help with the prescriptive. It'll be AI. Once we have a lot more data collected and we have the right algorithms, AI algorithms that are trained with the data we have or the data we have been collecting for the last few years, I think if we start to ask questions like so if you want to detect an inside threat, right? If we ask these algorithms, which employee displays the most has the most propensity to download a lot of data or download a lot of customer data, that is when we will be reaching the what should we do and how should we do and how should we address or mitigate those risks. That's where we are starting to get. We are not there yet. I don't think there is any company or any algorithm that can do that. If anybody in the audience has that answer, I would love to hear that. But from that perspective, I still haven't seen that. These are some of the examples of, again, based on previous trends, what is to come. Here are some of the examples. The most common use of the diagnostic and predictive I see is in banking. Banks have started using those two techniques to identify where will the fraudulent transactions come from, right? They want to detect it upfront so they can manage the risk, they can build the risk within their P&L. And so basically that's what is going on right now in the financial services area. In the retail area, in the retail loss area also, they're starting to come up with based on last 2 to 5 years of data, what kind of loss they can expect. That's already starting to happen. But within cybersecurity, we are still trying to figure all of these things out. So here's, again, to make this interesting, survey number 2. What are some of the biggest data security threats, as InfoSec folks of different levels that you guys are within the company? Social engineering is the biggest threat in your company, malicious insiders, compromised and weak credentials, and unpatched vulnerabilities, right? What do you perceive based on the company you work for? Again, this is all anonymous, so it'll be interesting to see what people come up with. As you can see, there is a race going on between social engineering and unpatched vulnerabilities. I have never heard of unpatched systems. I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. There's no such thing. Every company patches on Patch Tuesday. But anyway, all kidding aside, this is good information. Social engineering. So clicking on the wrong email is becoming a big issue. Unpatched vulnerabilities, that is a big issue. I think some of these things, social engineering and unpatched issues, lead to compromised and weak credential attacks and things like that. Malicious insiders, 14%. We all are very trusting people and we trust all our employees, but there is always that one bad person. And so using behavioral techniques and basically correlating them with their login, time of logins, time of badge in, badge out, I think can help us understand who these bad people are from an internal perspective. So again, thank you for the winner in this is unpatched vulnerabilities. I completely agree with you. Unpatched vulnerabilities are the ones that are being exploited. Social engineering is an entry technique. So hackers are using social engineering techniques to get in. They're exploiting using compromised and weak credentials. But at the end of the day, they are actually exploiting the unpatched vulnerabilities to get admin access, move laterally, install Mimikatz, and then go from there. So, collecting data within the company. And if you are collecting data and on your dashboard, unpatched vulnerabilities show up, I don't think you need data analytics to tell you that you probably will be hacked and be exploited. If not now, today, tomorrow, probably in the next 30, 60, 90 days, because the velocity of attacks has increased. So, I would, if there is any way for you to identify this, capture this in an analytical format, you should educate your management in these things. So I am going to go to the next slide. So the question we all are wondering is, where do we collect all of this security data, right? So think about it for a second. I had another visual, but I'll ask you to visualize, right? Every device connected to the network is generating some kind of an event. The firewalls, your endpoints, your laptop, desktop, servers, your switches, your routers, all of them are generating some kind of security events. IDS, IPSs, your badge in, badge outs, your end user software that's installed on your computer, the vulnerability testing you're doing, right? You're identifying internal and external, you're doing pen testing, you're doing vulnerability testing. All of these are telling you what systems are patched, what systems are not patched, which CVE exists, which exploitable there exist. So you can literally collect all of this information. The question is, what do you do with this data? Right? There's so much data being produced. I want to give you an example. I have a client, we have 4,000 endpoints, right? So think about it. We just deployed Carbon Black over there. So 4,000 endpoints, Carbon Black, uncontrolled generation of events were 1.4 billion events per hour. That's where we started. They were not tuned. This was just the raw Carbon Black data that was coming out. So from their Carbon Black endpoints across 4,000 endpoints, there were firewalls, there were switches, there were domain controllers. Think about the amount of data that was being generated. It's humanly impossible to look at all of this data to find the information we are looking for decision making. Is this a good packet? Is it a bad packet? Is this machine corrupted? This machine is not corrupted. So, the next step in this evolution is we start to take all of this data that's coming, and we're starting to basically pour this data into a SIM. The challenge I have in cybersecurity with a number of professionals that I work with is it's very hard for them to understand whether the data that they're collecting is good or bad. Is the alert that's coming, is it false positive or not false positive? Is it real? And so the challenge in data analytics is you have to use some kind of experience to basically take all of the data that's coming in and tweak the SIM to get to the right number, right? From 1.4 billion events per hour, we basically tweak that over a 6-month period to get to 10 to 15 events that we basically were then triaging, because there was no way we could look at 1.4 billion events per hour, right? So all of these elements fall within the scope of data analytics. The log collection that you're doing, how are you doing it? Why are you doing this log collection? I think that's one of the questions that you need to ask. Log analysis, log correlation, log. So, being cybersecurity infosec professionals that we are, we need to either get a crash course in data analytics so that we can ask these questions. Why are we collecting all of these data? What will this data do for me? what is the frequency I should be collecting this data? Should I collect it every second, every minute, every day, every hour? So all of those things require, so we may be great InfoSec people, but for us to be effective, we need a background in data analytics so that we can ask the right questions, we can analyze, we can find what we are looking for. So that's basically sort of where we need to get to. One of the things, I guess I sort of fast forwarded a little bit. The sheer volume of data as InfoSec professionals we are seeing, we get numb, right? Number of false or incorrect password that get generated on a daily basis. The alerts we get when a user tries to access the wrong folder in an Active Directory environment, right? 1 or 2 times is okay, but if the person is trying many, many times, so then the amount of data that we are collecting is just overwhelming. So this basically is all about, as InfoSec professional, we are getting bombarded by a lot of data, alerts, events, all of these are coming our way. So for us to become intelligent, we need to again, we need to figure out whether we should be using a SIM, whether we should be using an MDR, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to get to is the decision making. Data analytics helps you with decision making, right? So basically, that's what this session is all about, using data analytics to get to the right decision making that we as InfoSec professionals need to make so we are successful. Here's another survey question. What do you think are some expanding attack surfaces that present the most risk to us within a company? IoT and connected devices, misconfigured cloud servers, or vulnerable mobile devices? Right. So looks like there are a number of folks who are dealing with IoT and connected devices, and they're starting to understand the risk. Number of people pretty close. Misconfigured and cloud servers, that is also true. I'm sure you have seen multiple times that you may have the best security, but if you have a misconfigured cloud server, a EC3 sitting out there in AWS, not protected because somebody just went ahead and spun it and transferred PII, PHI, and didn't protect it, boom, a misconfigured cloud server now puts the company at risk. Excuse me, vulnerable mobile device. So pretty close. I wanted to share, from an IoT perspective. I apologize for the quality of the slide, but this is the best I could find, which actually shows the impact on InfoSec professionals. So think about it, by 2025, right? Employees will remain the same, but look at the amount of devices we will be asked to manage, right? By 2025, we are going to be at 40 billion devices across the world. If you go right to the bottom, very few PCs, right? So if you're 1,000 or 10,000 person company, 10,000 PCs, smartphones, iPads connected, tablets, other internet media, right? You have a number of DVRs, you have dish network receivers in your office environment, all of those things. Smart speakers and screens are becoming a big issue, right? Alexa, and just somebody asked me if I used Alexa or any other smart device at home. I have 3 internet connections at home. One of them is purely for IoT. My DVRs, we don't have an Alexa at home, but Siri, my iPhone, and all of that are on a completely different network. I just cannot, being an InfoSec professional, I cannot mix and match any of that. Ring device, we have 2 Ring devices at home. They are on a different network. And our personal laptops are on a third network. And whoever mixes and matches basically has to sit down and not use the internet for a few hours, few days. It's sacred in our house. So just wanted to share with you that, yes, understand the risk, and this is what is coming down for us. We are in 2020, 2021. We are all dealing with 30 billion devices right now, and in the next 4 years, it'll be 40 billion devices. Every company. So as InfoSec professional, you have to understand you're not just responsible for the laptops, desktops that are there, connected TVs, connected boardroom television sets that are connected to the network, IoT devices, badge in, badge outs, cameras, and things like that. We had a client, they have a warehouse, they have 3 warehouses, and they were using cameras, right? Internet connected cameras across the country. The cameras basically generate so much SNMP. They either have the very old Ubuntu or old Linux running on them, and they always show up on all the vulnerability scan. And so it took us over 9 months to get the manufacturer to release a patch so that they could be patched. But in the meantime, what we had to do is we had to VLAN those completely out to reduce the risk. The client was very upset with us, but we explained to the client, if you heard of Mirai and some of the attacks in the last 5 years, they were uncontrolled IoT devices that were used by hackers outside the company because these were all unpatched IoT devices. But anyway, so the amount of data, I think the number of these devices will generate so much data. How are you as InfoSec professionals going to take all of this data, use data analytics techniques to analyze which is good data, bad data, what's a good device, which is a bad device? So, I think that was the purpose of this slide, so that you can understand that our jobs are going to get more and more difficult, and any manual technique that we may be using is going to get outdated very quickly because the amount of data that we have to use is humongous. This is basically, using analytics. How do we make our lives easier, right? Fine-tuning the intrusion detection, correlating, discovering data breaches faster. I think that's one of the benefits of using analytics. Monitoring workflows so that we can identify anomalies, using real-life experiences that we have seen in the past. That can help in improving the analytics and protecting data more effectively. So fine-tuning intrusion detection, I think this is becoming more and more. The example I gave you, 1.4 billion data points coming per hour, I think that basically was an eye-opener to us, right? How can 4,000 devices, laptops, desktops, server, firewalls, domain controllers, how can they generate so many things? And so we had to put on our data analytics hat and basically start asking questions. Hey, why are we collecting so many events? Right? That was the first thing. Are these events, do they have the same risk rating? Can we identify the right events that we want to collect? So literally from 1.4 billion events per hour, we went down to, I think it was 1.1 million events that we basically said, okay, this is acceptable as we go forward, right, on an hourly basis. So use predictions to fine-tune your IDPS, your intrusion detection protection system, to help strengthen your overall security posture. Because if the data that you're looking is voluminous, you're going to start becoming numb, and you will start ignoring real data because you will not be able to distinguish between real data and false positive. So data analytics basically helps in fine-tuning, correlating. We talked about correlating. If you have enormous data, how do you correlate the action of one human, right? So correlating badge access with failed passwords or timing of the passwords, teaching your systems to go figure out, right? If you're not in the office, but you have basically configured your Active Directory and your IPS IDS, that if an employee logs in or shows up in the office on a Saturday or Sunday, that you get an alarm on an alert, I think that will basically help you correlate and identify and ask the right questions, right? Folks who are in the hospital system, you use fair warning. Fair warning is a very good example of correlating disparate data. Why did this nurse who was only allowed to work on the 3rd floor accessing patient data or data of a patient on the 4th floor, right? Those algorithms are already built and they are prepackaged. Now, of course, you can start to tweak them, right? Why is this person from this last name accessing data with the same last name, right? Those kind of things. There are ways where you can start to look at zip codes, right? Why is this person from this zip code accessing patient of the same zip code? Is that a family thing going on over there? So, correlation is becoming more important and making the job of the compliance officer and the security officer very easy. Discovering breaches faster. In the past where we could not correlate data and things like that, we were basically at 196 days. With using more analytical tools, we are now able to get this down to quickly, right? The last 2 or 3 cases that I've dealt with, we were able to detect breaches within a week, right? We had tools and technologies that started to show us false positives, increased password failures, that started giving us clues. The number of antivirus quarantine that were happening, that became faster. So the tools and technologies that we have made it easier for us to do things faster. This is, again, talking about workflows. If you have good tools that can correlate data and help you monitor workflows, again, makes your life easier. Again, going back to human experiences, that's what drives all of this. If you know how to ask the right question based on the stuff that you have seen in the past, helps you protect more data. So I'm hurrying up a little bit because I'm going to hit my 55-minute mark pretty quickly. But the last question over here was, what do you think are some expanding attack surfaces that present the most risk? Again, this is a similar question, but it is sort of predicting, what do you think are some expanding attack surfaces? So the last question we asked was the current question. This is, what do you think are going to be generating more and more risk for your organization? Is it IoT connected devices? Is it misconfigured cloud servers? Is it vulnerable mobile devices? And the idea with here is, based on your experience, where do you see the most risk as you go into the future? And we just saw that the number of IoT devices are going to go through the roof, right? We are sitting at 25 billion to 30 billion devices that are going to 40 to 50 billion devices. That, incorporating that into your homes and your companies, I think that is the biggest risk if you don't manage the patching of those devices, if you don't monitor, because you're putting them right alongside the laptop, which contains sensitive data. So mitigating using different VLANing techniques and stuff like that. So again, thank you. 53% said IoT and connected devices. So, right, on the money, right? So the question is, where do you start, right? If you remember early on, the first question was, how many of you had a program and didn't have a program. I think for folks who don't have a program, where do you start? I think that these are the 5 V's: volume, variety, velocity, veracity, and visualization. Basis of a data analytics program. Amount of data that you're collecting, right? Does your organization have 100 endpoints or 1,000 endpoints or 10,000 endpoints? So volume of data coming from these endpoints. So you have to take a look at the data. If the data is becoming more and more and more, that's a good driver for a data analytics program. The nature, structure, and type of data, right? What are the sources? The velocity is becoming very important, right? If your company is dependent on the internet, which every company is, and you're sending thousands of emails and thousands of connections and thousands of files are floating around, that determines the velocity. Veracity is quality of data that has been captured. And I think those go back to the tuning, right? What are you doing using PCAP? What kinds of data are you capturing? And then visualization. Visualization is the one that, how are you taking all of this data that you're collecting and you're applying these techniques, and how are you then visualizing the data for yourself and for your executives? There are many, many different kinds of techniques: temporal, hierarchical, multidimensional, geospatial, and network visualization. All of this sort of lead to, how do you start to take the data, which is bits and bytes, packets? How do you take that and start make meaningful sense of that data to understand what happened to you, what is happening to you, and predicting what may happen to you so you can, do risk management, go to your board and ask for more money to help mitigate the cyber risk within your company. With that, I'm going to sort of pause. This is just a summary slide. Let me see. This is what we do. Yeah, I think we are at the end. Rob, I don't know if people are asking questions. If there are any questions, or if you have any questions, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, thanks, Sanjay. Excellent presentation. And it looks like we do have some questions coming in. So I'm gonna ask them to you and see if you can maybe elaborate on some of these ideas. Okay, so here's a question that comes in that says, data science requires integration of different data sources, correlation of events, etc. It means that different devices from different vendors might need to work together. How do you see the future from the vendor perspective? Will they allow cross integrations? Are we moving to open solutions or closed solutions? What do you think about that?
I think excellent question. Excellent question. We struggle with this on a daily basis, right? The answer right now, yes, we are trying to standardize APIs. We're trying to standardize data formats and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, right now, we are all falling back to syslog. Syslog. I believe MITRE has come up with a vulnerability language. I think there are multiple scientific community open source folks have come up with standardized vulnerability language so that you can standardize the output. But the issue is 90% of the vendors are not following that. So we all have to fall back to configuring syslogs for that collect devices, and syslog then standardize it and sends it to our SIM. And so there is, the data science portion is actually being done within everybody's expertise, I would say, within the tool sets that you use. There is no common definition that's being used that will make data science easy for any of us. Folks who are using Splunk, they have a different way of doing this. Folks who have a SIM, a homegrown SIM, they're using different stuff. Folks who are doing Alien Vault, they're trying to build the bridges. And so, this data science piece is going to be there for us for some time to come. And we will have to literally do things ourselves. before the next generation of good cybersecurity, predictive, and prescriptive analytics tools come out? Yes, there's a lot of marketing fluff going on using, hey, my tool uses ML and my tool uses AI, but I still have not seen a good way of extracting and coming up with this predictive and prescriptive analytics. I still haven't seen good diagrams or pictures that show me the predictiveness of what I should be doing from a cybersecurity perspective. I should be focusing on geolocations. I should be focused on a specific department within my client's organization. Should I be focused on a user? Should I be focused on a person whose laptop is getting corrupted every other day because the person takes a laptop home and the laptop is getting corrupted at home with malware, the person brings it back. Those are some of the things that are still manual, right? There are no tools, or there are no SIMs that are flashing red lights based on some of these things. You yourself have to go figure out. It's like, hey, did this guy's laptop get a malware 2 days ago? We cleaned it up and now again he has it. The SIM doesn't tell you that. You yourself have to make that determination, right? So I think persistence is still missing from this conversation, right? Persistence is basically the memory that our environment will have to retain to make these correlational decisions. That's not there. Humans have persistence. The current technology still doesn't have persistence. Of course, there is persistence in connection and TCP/IP and things like that, but that has not abstracted all the way up into the cybersecurity data science yet. So that's basically a long answer to the short question, Rob.
Excellent, thank you, Sanjay. There's actually there's another question that's come in as well, and it's, could you elaborate on how the industry is working together to share analytics at scale? For example, things such as crowdsource as a security service, maybe even threat intelligence is kind of a relevant consideration for this.
I think excellent question. I think everybody's trying, so I'm not going to fault anybody for not trying, right? So we've got information sharing organizations set up by CISA. We have certs all over the world that are coming out with the vulnerabilities, and so I don't think we can cite anybody for not trying. I think everybody's trying. I think the challenge we are all having is they are not using the same nomenclature, right? The vendors have their own language. CISA has their own language. CERT has their own language. The only common thing is CVE, right? So can we build predictive analytics around CVE? Can the syslog that we are ingesting, can that be very quickly converted into CVE? And can we apply risk ranking to CVE to demonstrate that this CVE, if I see this CVE, the propensity or the predictiveness of getting hacked or ransomware is higher? I think that's where we are all getting to. So the answer is, I think we are starting to see foundation being set up, but I think we're still about 10 years away for all of these disparate indicators of compromise, CVEs, vendor-generated information, and ISACs all to work together to start to get to the predictiveness so that a CISO can basically sit at one panel of glass, look at the whole thing and say, oh my God, I'm about to get hacked day after tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So I need to cancel my coffee and focus on this. I think we are about 10 years away from that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't put it on our calendar when they're going to exploit the vulnerabilities, right?
Well, I don't want to start on that, but I have customers who basically say, I have a SOC, and when I ask them what does a SOC do, You find out that they have two people who work from 9 to 5, and they don't work on weekends. So I basically ask very innocuously, I ask my CISO clients, it's like, hey, is there a banner that you tell the hackers don't attack me because I don't have staff sitting on the SOC? But anyway, but that's a whole different conversation. But thanks again for hopefully this was meaningful. Maybe one or two things if you folks picked up to help your InfoSec career, InfoSec job. Again, I think all of you know where to find me, so hit me up on LinkedIn. And thanks again, Rob and Sandra and the Isakka board for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sanjay. Great presentation. Really enjoyed it. Lots to take away there. Very rich conversation and a lot to keep in mind, and certainly a lot to keep track of going forward, right? Because this is a continuously advancing field. So very deeply appreciative for you for presenting this tonight, and for all the support that you continue to offer to the chapter, not only in the past year, but in many previous years. And we look forward as well to for years and years to come. So thanks so much, Sanjay.
Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely.
All right, so now we will go ahead and move into the next section of our annual general meeting. And in order to do this, we're going to cover some chapter business, and we'll try and keep this a little bit involved and a little bit interactive, so that we can make sure that this part is a little bit engaging, and hopefully that you get a lot out of it. So if you look over here on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll actually see that what we're going to do is we're going to cover the chapter status update. We're going to look at some of the activities that we performed for this fiscal period. We're going to look at some achievements that we have accomplished, and recognize some special accomplishment throughout the period as well. And then we're also going to make an outlook for look at the future of things to come in the next fiscal year. And so, as a reminder, the fiscal period for ISACA South Florida runs from June 1st of a year until May 31st of the next year. So that's why you see us having this annual general meeting every year in May, and why we talk about the fiscal year, and why we kind of do our review at this time, and that sort of thing. So when we talk about the year that we're covering, we're not talking about the calendar period. We're talking about June to May, and that's pretty typical among not-for-profit organizations to have these types of periods that kind of resemble a little bit of this sort of timing. So let's review some relevant information for the chapter. Over here on the right, you have our mission statement for ISACA South Florida, and that is that our mission is to help South Florida realize the positive potential of technology. This mission statement has been aligned to ISACA International, whose mission statement is to help you realize the positive potential of technology. And so we have that regional focus, of course, and we have been down here doing this for more than 40 years. We're the 33rd chapter of ISACA that was formed on, our chapter was formed on December 2nd, 1978. Now we have more than 1,000 members. Actually, we'll look at those stats in just a second. But before we do, let's actually real quick take a look at maybe kind of some of the people who we have in tonight's meeting, and get a little bit of an idea of who the longevity of who is participating in this meeting. So let's actually ask a question of our membership now, or of the participants now. How long have you been a member of ISACA? And this will give you a little bit of an idea of just how much longevity we have in the ISACA South Florida chapter, because it's really impressive. I've had the great fortune of being able to go to other ISACA chapters and talk with other chapter leaders actually around the world when we meet together and some of our chapter leadership events. And it's definitely the participation and the longevity and the deep engagement that this chapter has is really very special. So let's take a look at some of the participation here and share this. And you can see that the top group here is 37% of the people that are involved in tonight's meeting. Of course, it's just a small sample of the full chapter, but that are involved in tonight's meeting have been a member for 0 to 5 years. So there's lots of new energy coming in, which we're very excited about. But then if you keep looking, the next largest category is actually people who have been members of ISACA for 10 to 15 years. So quite a bit of legacy there. And then even the next closest is 15 to 20. And then you see we have some people who have been members of ISACA for more than 20 years. There's the 5 to 10. And we're thrilled also for those people who are not members of ISACA for participating with us. This is absolutely an open forum. We're very excited to have you. If you're members of the community, members of affiliate organizations, just curious members, students, come one, come all. We're thrilled to have you with us tonight. And I hope that you get a little bit of insight into some of the chapter workings in this conversation tonight. So let's move on into this agenda for the status update, activities review, the recognition and achievements, and the outlook of future activities that will be coming. Here's just a real quick reminder of ISACA International's purpose and promise. You heard me refer to that just a moment ago. Our mission down here in ISACA South Florida is to help South Florida realize the positive potential of technology. I mentioned that this was aligned with ISACA International's mission, or what they call their purpose statement, to help you realize the positive potential of technology. And then ISACA also has a promise that they make to inspire confidence that enables innovation through technology. So you see that word confidence, trust, kind of a reference to our heritage that has deep roots in assurance. Of course, now there's not only IT assurance, but also cybersecurity and risk management and other types of professionals as well, privacy professionals becoming a big constituents of the membership of ISACA, but all working together to help inspire confidence that enables innovation through technology. So let's take a look at some of the activities that we performed. And as we do, let's start off with some of the strategic objectives that we had in the prior fiscal year, and then that we ended up working on in this fiscal year. So over the past 12 months, we were working on a lot of digital transformation activities, affiliate collaboration, and job finding support. So when we actually got together last June and did the strategic planning for this fiscal year, we initially set up with strategic objectives that looked a lot like the ones we had the prior year: academic relations, corporate relations, communications. We're going to build a lot on that foundation. Of course, by the time we got into June, there was a lot of uncertainty that the entire world was dealing with, and our chapter was no different, right? Each of us in our individual lives, each of us in our professional lives, each of us in our volunteer lives was suddenly faced with the uncertainty of how long are we going to be remote? What are the ways that we're going to be remote? What's the impact? How are we going to, adjust our operations? What does this mean for us? What can we do to help people? What can we do to help our members and to help our community as well? And that actually caused a little bit of some shifting for our strategic objectives. And so you can see here, digital transformation. We spent a lot of effort in this past year really working on not only developing a skill set to deliver online events and virtual events and webinars like the one that we're doing tonight, and like the ones that we've been doing for the past, 14 months. But then also just being able to use collaborative workspaces better, a lot of better tooling, a lot better communication, coming up with good ways to hold all of our committee meetings without necessarily getting together in person, something that we would love to do and enjoy very much, but have needed to find alternatives for. So this, thankfully forced us to acquire a tool set and acquire a skill set to match those tools that we don't actually anticipate dropping at this point. Now it's baked in the cake, right? So we envision that even as operations start to involve physical collaboration and physical gathering together in the future, that we'll still have a lot of virtual meetings, virtual content, virtual offerings that we're providing because we've obtained this skill set and because we've obtained these tools over time. So it was a change that ultimately will help us in the future, and we're excited about that. But in the meantime, it was something that we had to do out of necessity. Additionally, with that, we have been for the past couple of years focusing on a lot of collaboration with other affiliate organizations. There's a number of organizations that you'll see on some upcoming slides. This is something that this chapter has always done well, but we're now, even during the pandemic and even during the remote and distributed, presence, we've tried to continue doing this and perhaps doing it even a tiny bit more so that we can help create these stronger relationships, which we hope will endure and which honestly help people connect even more at a time when we find that to be especially difficult. And then, of course, there is also the fact that a lot of people have had some difficulty with changes in their work, right? Whether it's some companies downsizing, some companies figuring out new changes in the way they're doing operations that forced people to shift around, increased demand for certain types of roles, decreased demand for other types of roles. As a result of that, one of the things that some of the chapter leadership, like our Vice President Tina Honey, like our Director of Academic Relations Trixie, got together and said is, hey, we want to actually have some kind of support for this. Maybe there can be a career fair. Maybe we can focus even more on reaching out to people. Ashton, our Director of Corporate Relations, said maybe we can even work more closely with our corporate partners. Mehmet, our Director of Membership, said maybe we can even collaborate and communicate more directly with the membership when they're looking for work. We can share this type of information faster. We can make sure we get it on the website faster. And so those types of things are definitely activities that we have tried to increase and that we expect that we will probably continue to have a focus on, because this is something that's just so important to make sure that people are able to find those opportunities when they need them and the right fit as they can. So actually, with that being said, I'll take just a real quick second and make sure that I pull up our chapter website, which I'm sharing on the screen right now. And if you look at our chapter website, across this menu at the top, you'll notice that there's a tab here for jobs. And this tab does receive postings fairly frequently. I know that this is not necessarily the primary place that people go to look for jobs, but this is a place that we can post it. And since we do have this up, I will actually take the opportunity to highlight a couple of recent postings that have come in, even just within the past few days. So I'll go ahead and make mention of, just in the spirit of serving this, right, that Royal Caribbean is in search of a lead information system risk assessments team member, and there's a job description here. It's working with a fantastic team of people who are ISACA South Florida members and nice people that we know and are thrilled to make sure that we get this posted for. So this opportunity is here, and at the bottom you'll see a link to the LinkedIn job posting here, and that's at Royal Caribbean Group. And then another one that just came in within the past 3 days is for Florida Department of Transportation, the Office of Inspector General. They're looking for someone in their performance and information technology audit unit, right? So IT auditors, I think we know a few of those. Here's a job description here. And here's also some additional information that you can go to to find out how to apply, to find out how to participate in that. Right below that, another job that has come in again within the past 3 days. This is with Veronis, a chapter partner who has previously sponsored this chapter before. We're thrilled for the opportunity to be able to share information for a post that they're looking to fill. They're looking to fill a position for a sales engineer who will be responsible for assisting sales representatives and partners with technical sales activities. There's a job description here. There's additional information that can be acquired directly from them by visiting their website with a link here. So as you can see, that has been a priority for us. I imagine that, you know, with some level of uncertainty in the economy and in just the way of the workforce for the, you know, for the time being, I imagine it will continue to be a priority. So please continue to share those types of things with us. Reach out to us if you're looking for introductions. We'll definitely try and make that as much of a meaningful and valuable exchange for you as we possibly can. And I suppose in that spirit, if you do have recommendations, please also reach out to us and provide those recommendations of you know, additional ways that we can help you. We're happy to do that. You saw that my email, my chapter email was presented at the beginning of this session, and I'll go ahead and say it again. It's president@isaccasfl.org. So please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll make sure to try and continue serving that need as much as we can. And you're going to see some ways that that's happening in just a moment as we get to some additional slides. As we do that, let's take a real quick moment and also look at some of the things that are happening with membership, which are very exciting. Some of the things that are happening with certification, which are very exciting. If you look at last year, oops, I didn't change the year here, so let me do that. Last year, the membership had 1,029 members there. And we had them representing a number of different certifications, which are here. The CISA being the top certification represented, followed by the CISM, followed by the CRISC, and then after that, the CGUITE and the CSX fundamentals and CSX practitioner certifications as well. So please, you know, continue pursuing certifications. And oh, there's actually a comment coming in that that someone is asking, how can we see those listings for the jobs again? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put in the chat our website, and that's www.isakasfl.org. And I just put that in the chat to all panelists and all attendees. So every single person right now should be able to see that that URL. And then I'll also, you know, since this is something that's so important to us, I'll also go ahead and put the direct link to the jobs posting page as well, so that we can make sure that people are getting access to that information. So thank you very much for asking. And of course, keep the questions coming. If there's some other information that we can provide, we're happy to do so. Okay, wonderful. So last year we had 1,029 members. This year we have 1,065 members as of post-purge, the cutoff. And when I say purge, that means that, you know, every year you're supposed to renew your membership by December 31st. I know that sometimes I accidentally forget to submit that expense right on time for the 31st, but we certainly try to get it done right on the 31st, right? If for some reason that doesn't get done by April 30th, by March 30th, then at that point, ISACA International goes ahead and removes you from the chapter roster. So sometimes that's called, in ISACA parlance, that's called the purge. And so if you ever hear us say something like that, that means after people have been removed from the rosters who did not renew their membership. This year, our membership went up to 1,065 members, and You can see that these members are not only increasing in number, but also increasing in certification. This year, there are 530 CISAs represented by our membership, 233 CISMs, Certified Information Security Manager. People are still pursuing the CSX certifications, both the fundamentals and the practitioner certification. The C-Risk is still popular. The C-Guide you see there represented at 37. And then, of course, the big conspicuous characters in the bottom right hand, the Certified Data Privacy Security Engineer, which was launched within the past year, and which people have the opportunity to participate in kind of through some early window opportunities in some different ways. And you can see that people definitely took advantage of that. We're thrilled to see it because privacy is rising so much in importance for our global community and for our profession, that 150 CDPSEs are now among our ranks. So huge accomplishments, great jobs, everybody, for getting all those certifications. That's really extraordinary that more than 10% of our membership actually went ahead and already got that certification. And then there's also the cybersecurity audit certificate, which ISACA is now offering, and 7 people have already taken advantage of that. So you can see that we certainly are a studious group of people who do a good job of displaying our certifications. And so something that we'd like to keep in mind as we are also planning for the year to come, and as we're continuing to understand our membership better, is which certifications you are interested in pursuing this coming year, give or take a year, right? It's okay if it's not exactly a year. And that way we can make sure that we're keeping these sorts of things in mind, that we're providing you the tools, we're providing you the content, providing you the review sessions, providing you whatever types of resources that may be helpful in making sure that you can reach these goals, because that's so important to us. So up here we have the CISA, the CISM as options. Oh, and by the way, multiple choices are allowed, right? So if you're thinking of pursuing more than one certification, you can actually check off multiple choices here. And the CISA, the CISM, the C-Risk, the C-Guide, the CDPSE, which we just talked about, Privacy Security Engineer, the CSXP, which is the hands-on lab-based practitioner certification, the fundamentals, which is the prep for that certification, the cybersecurity audit, or perhaps some other certifications, right? There's a lot out there. There's a lot of value out there to be pursued. So certainly good for us to understand those types of things as well. And now that about approximately a minute and a half has passed, I'll go ahead and stop the poll and share those results so that you can also see that, almost a third of the people participating in this meeting are going to be pursuing the CISM and or the C-Risk within the next approximate year, right? So huge goals coming up, which we're thrilled to see, and also we look forward to finding good ways to support as well, right? So I know that our programming committee members who are incoming, our certification director, our membership, all these people are probably looking at this type of information and saying, okay, this is good things to keep in mind. Also, the CISA continuing to be strong, sort of the gold standard of IT audit, no surprise there. And then down here, actually very exciting to see 29% of people on this meeting are also planning on pursuing that cybersecurity audit certificate. So really a lot of traction coming in that certificate, and then other certifications going to be pursued as well. So fantastic goals that are going to be coming up, and other things that are also going to be pursued as well. And then, there's some good questions coming in that isn't there a new certification for cloud service? Yeah, I'm actually really glad this question came up. So ISACA International and the Cloud Security Alliance, who does have a chapter in South Florida, and we're very thrilled to be hopefully collaborating with them in the next fiscal year as well, have been working together to produce some certificates, is my understanding, of cloud audit. So yes, you'll be hearing a lot more about that. Thank you very much for asking. And then also there's another comment that came in. How about COVID? So there is going to be another poll coming up in just a little bit when we're going to ask about top other things that topics that you want us to talk about. So please keep that in mind as we move into that next poll, and hopefully we'll get some great feedback on that one as well. So let's oops, did I move? Yeah, sorry about that. So let's move into a real quick overview of the activities that were held. And you kind of heard me say at the very top of this meeting that there has been a lot that was done this year. That is certainly a fair statement. You can see here 18 public events that were presented by ISACA South Florida to the public throughout the past year. All of these were presented virtually, which is part of that huge digital transformation effort that we made. And so there was quite a bit of, as you can imagine, behind the scenes planning and coordination and organization to make these sorts of things happen. I'd say in addition to our monthly chapter meetings, in addition to our officer meetings, in addition to just committee meetings in general, each one of these events usually involves anywhere from 3 to 5 planning meetings also. So you can start to do the math and see that this board has worked really, really hard to make sure that we stay in communication with you, to make sure that we're reinvesting in our community, to make sure that we're offering value to you, and trying to stay connected and continue supporting your goals in as many ways as we can. So it's a real deep honor to participate with people on the ISACA South Florida board and the volunteers who help out the board, who do so much to make all these kinds of things happen. You can see here that we had certification reviews. Right at the top, there's a CISM review, and then down on number 10, there was a CISA review as well. And then at 8, there was another CISM review. So multiple certification reviews throughout the period. In June, we started off with a privacy panel, and we did an overview of that certified data privacy security engineer certification. We actually did an overview of what that was going to be about, what it was going to offer. And then we had a webinar with General Matthews where he talked about 5 steps to security validation, which was a fantastic discussion. We mentioned that one of our strategic objectives during the period was to have a lot more collaboration, or continue a lot in the spirit of collaboration with other organizations. We had a joint event with TDWI, which is transforming data with intelligence, where we talked about autonomous decisions and data governance. Then we had RPA and the auditor, a webinar that was presented that was fantastic. We had a community day volunteer event. That was actually the one event that did have physical participation option there, where members of ISACA South Florida went and boxed up food for the homeless and for, just generally speaking, people who are in need, which was a wonderful thing to do during the middle of a very difficult time for so many. We had a webinar about cloud incident response as well, that actually went into forensics and even went into like the actual logs that should be looked into in the different cloud environments. There was a focus on AWS, but other Azure and GCP were also reviewed in there as well. And then we did another collaborative event with SIM, the Society for Information Management, which has a great chapter down here in South Florida, where we talked about inclusivity in tech. And that was a part of something that we've been bringing up over and over in discussions and in content that we're trying to offer our community and our membership. And then number 11, leadership and business continuity, where we talked about volatile, uncertain types of environments and how that can relate to business continuity planning and how we can help lead organizations and come up with ideas in those types of environments. Then at the beginning of the year, we had IT audit lessons from 2020 and from the pandemic, a fantastic webinar presented. We brought the general back because people had so many questions for General Matthews, and we just had an open Q&A session that was really extraordinary. General Matthews does work now at FireEye, and so we had a pretty in-depth discussion about the events that involved Mandiant and FireEye that are really continue to be so important to information security and to national security in general. And then we had our virtual WOW week, a first for us, something that we hope we don't have to do too often, even though we love to continue having a virtual aspect to WOW, where we had 5 events in a single week that were all virtual, and where we offered all different types of thought leadership and try to make sure that we continued providing you CPE channels as well. And then we had another webinar for securing distributed health care and other organizations. Tonight we have our annual general meeting, and then before the year ends, we will still have, because the year ends on May 31st, we will still have before the year ends that career expo that I talked to you about that was so important to so many members of our chapter leadership. It also involves an affiliate, Tech Hub South Florida, which used to be called Palm Beach Tech, and now it's called Tech Hub South Florida. So another affiliate that we're happy to partner with, and then yet another affiliate that we're partnering with at the end of the month. That's HIMSS, Health Information Management System. I'm going to get that acronym wrong, so I'm not going to try. But it's the Healthcare Information System Association. We're having a panel with them on May 25th. So you can see 18 events that we've presented throughout this past year, 66 and a half CPEs. I certainly hope you're finding that you're able to get CPEs as well. It's definitely a priority to us to make sure that we're continuing to offer you those types of options as well. Okay, perfect. And then let's see, there's a question coming in about kind of member dues and fees and those types of things. That the question is actually asking whether or not ISACA International is looking to reduce any types of the fees relating to certifications. I have been keeping track of conversations regarding this. I have not seen any discounts coming up for the primary certifications that ISACA continues offering. We will keep this conversation top of mind. It was something that came up during the pandemic. There was the promotional period for the certified data privacy security engineer. But outside of that, I haven't seen other promotions run specifically for the certifications. So it's definitely something that we'll keep an eye out for, and we appreciate the question very much. Let's also make sure that we talk about chapter finances. Of course, this was a highly unusual year for us. So you're going to see a very different type of financial picture than we've been presenting to you for the past few years. On the left-hand side, you can see the information presented again by fiscal year, right? So we're talking about June 30th to May 31st. And right now, since we don't have May 31st information, on the top row, you see an apples to apples comparison of June to April, because that's the information that we have for this fiscal year. So we're going to compare that to last fiscal year. And then on the bottom row, you'll see the prior year period ending that was the entire year. So on the top row is 11 months, bottom row is 12 months. The current 12-month period is not yet ended. So there's 12 months for the prior year, but not 12 months for this year. So let's focus on the 11-month periods of apples to apples comparison and have a real quick conversation about that. Normally, our chapter runs a budget of revenues and expenditures somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000 in revenues, and $100,000 to $125,000 in expenditures. It's fluctuated. Chapter membership has changed, that sort of things. And from time to time, these numbers have gone up, these numbers have gone down. But that is normally, let's say, a six-figure budget that this chapter is operating on to host all these events. Budgeted monies, expenditures include oftentimes things like renting out facilities to hold our events, right? So paying for rent, paying for foods, paying for meals, paying for happy hours, paying for speakers to fly in, paying for speakers' hotels from time to time. We try and limit pretty drastically the amount that we'll pay for those sorts of things. But we do have, if someone's going to incur some expenditure to come down to see us, we do have small budgets that we allow for that. But renting out facilities, renting out hotels, renting out conference rooms, feeding, anywhere from 50 to 100 to 300 to 350 people who come to these conferences does generate a large amount of expenditure. You'll notice that last year that generated somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000. If you look at the bottom, $102,409 in expenditure for the fiscal period that ended May 31st, 2020. This year, of course, was very different, right? We did not rent out facilities. We did not pay for a bunch of meals. We did not, unfortunately, host happy hours. We didn't pay for people to fly into town to speak to you on thought leadership and for you to meet, and we didn't pay for hotels and pay for mileage or pay for those kinds of things. So our expenditure dramatically reduced, right? You can see that it was less than a third of what would normally be anticipated for these types of operations. So for the 11-month period, and believe me, it's not going to change much during the month of May. For the 11-month period, the expenditure was only about $30,000, $31,000 more or less. Revenue primarily driven by chapter member dues, approximately $54,000. There's also other revenues that came in. We received some sponsorships for some of the webinars and those kinds of things. Now, it did reduce the top line dramatically, right? If normally we're operating on a six-figure budget, this is less than half of what we normally would have operated on. However, the chapter really, realigned those expenditures, really, worked smart and made sure that either way, the change in net assets, ultimately the bottom line of all this activities stayed very healthy, right? So that we can continue to maintain reserves, that we continue to make sure that this chapter exists for a long time in the future, that it's able to deal with uncertainty, that it's able to deal with unforeseen events and those kinds of things. And so there is still a positive change in net assets that is anticipated, that is healthy for this chapter, that will be coming out of these operations, even though it was so different of the type of year that we had. So that's the overall fiscal activity for this period. And then there's a question coming in: is there any plan for reducing the total amount of CPE certification when a person holds more than one certificate? So actually, that's a really interesting question. I'm glad it's being asked. So there are many times, many times, as a matter of fact, when our events, because of the content, they actually apply to more than one certificate. And I imagine this person may know this, but I'll go ahead and say it just because sometimes what one person is asking, another person is thinking as well, right? So a lot of times you can actually claim a single event across multiple of your certificates, right? Because if, let's say, you have to keep mind of your domains, right? You have to look at the domains for the CISA, the domain for the CISM, the domain for whatever are the certificates that you hold, the certifications that you hold. But if the content relates to multiple certifications, you by all means are allowed to report it for multiple certifications. So that's something that you're definitely allowed to claim. and we definitely encourage you to do that. So great questions come in. And then another question coming in, when will we have happy hours again? Well, I hope very soon, and we're actually going to talk about that in just a minute. So let's keep that question top of mind, and I look forward to the day that when that happens. Another question come in, how much does the chapter have in assets saved in the bank? The chapter has, and I don't want to give an exact number because I will get this wrong trying to recite it from memory. The chapter has a six-figure reserve that is actually part of not only a reserve, but a foundation preparation as well, so that these types of monies can be used to gain interest, although very tiny amounts of interest, that can be put forth towards things like the scholarships, which you'll hear about in just a minute. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of $140,000 is the amount of total reserve that the chapter has, and these, of course, are the funds that our membership has invested over time to make sure that these monies can be invested in a fiduciary responsible way right back into the chapter. There was a period in time, it was not recently, thankfully, when the chapter actually faced some severe fiscal difficulties, and this was kind of a long time ago. This chapter has tried to be very, very responsible in the way that it plans to make sure that that does not happen again, that there's stability, and that there's the ability to withstand uncertainty in the future. So that's something that I think is very important for our membership to know, because it's part of what you entrust the chapter leadership to attempt to maintain over time, right? So very, very good thing to keep communicating to the membership. So thanks very much for your questions and comments about that as well. All right, now let's get to some even more fun stuff as we talk about some scholarships that the chapter is continuing to give out. And this year there are 5 scholarships that we're giving out. We did receive more applications than this, but there are qualifications that actually have to be met. And so this year we're giving out 5 scholarships to students who are from 2 different universities. And so we're thrilled that that we're able to continue to do this in honor of some of our previous chapter members, and we look forward to continuing to do this for a long time. So I'm not going to say any last names, but I will say first names, because we're so excited about these people doing such awesome jobs. And just as a reminder, actually, since we're doing so much interactivity here, the scholarship information is always on our website. And then the new scholarship period will actually open up within just a couple of months as well. All this information is here. The applications are here. The way to communicate the applications are here. If you are a student, if you know a student, if you have contact with students, all the information is here that is necessary to know about applying for these scholarships. We're very thrilled to give away this money by all means, because we want to support professionals to support students who are pursuing a profession in governance, risk, compliance, audit, security in the future. So it's a high priority to us. So the more we can circulate that knowledge, the more we'll continue to be able to do things like this. You saw there's a number of universities that qualify, and actually I think we continue to expand that over time. It just so happens that there's 2 universities who are submitting applications a lot this year, and where the winners came from. But we look forward to the opportunity to give away to all different types of universities in the future. Last year it was 5 universities. This year it only happens to represent 2. But in the meantime, go Sharks, go Owls. Very excited about this. So we're thrilled for the opportunity to present $1,000 scholarships to Sahana from Nova Southeastern University, to Diwakshi from FAU, to Cayenne from FAU, to Tanya from FAU, and to Alexandru from FAU. So you can see a lot of strong representation from FAU there. Congratulations, very well deserved. A great job, everybody, for doing that. We look forward to this. We'll be getting those sent right out immediately to you. And it just so happens that there are a couple of people, including myself, who do instruction, who do teach at FAU. So perhaps we're doing a good job of circulating some of the information there. All the more reason for us to make sure that we're keeping it top of mind, to circulate the information to other universities as well, so that we can continue offering this, because it's just something we're really thrilled to be able to do it. So congrats, everybody. Amazing work. Keep up the great job, and we look forward to being able to support you and to seeing all that you'll be doing in the future. So now it's time for some additional huge thanks to the outgoing board, and you'll see that there are also many of these people who are incoming board members as well, which we're very deeply grateful for. So some of these people, you're about to see their names in just a moment, but nonetheless, they still deserve just as much thanks for this huge year that they have delivered to this chapter, right? All those events, all that planning, all that work, all the promotion, all the instruction, all the training, the scholarships, the coordination, the affiliation, the communication, all that stuff. So thanks very much to Tina Honey, the vice president, to Pete Christians, the secretary. A deep amount of gratitude to Joanne Clipper, the treasurer, who has been with our chapter for many years, and who has done just some really extraordinary volunteership throughout her career and throughout her participation with this chapter. So many thanks to the officers. Thanks also to Trixie De Leon Gonzalez, who was the director of academic relations and went through all those scholarship applications, who promoted those scholarships. Thanks Maria Ariz, the director of certifications, who coordinated those certification reviews. Thanks to Ivan Reyes, the director of communications, who we were really thrilled with his involvement. It just so happens that Ivan ended up moving away to a different place, but we're really thrilled and grateful for all that he did. Thanks to Ash Dam, the director of corporate relations, who's done an amazing job at building strong partnerships. Thanks to Mehmet Uve, the director of membership, who has actually been with Isakka for an extraordinary amount of time. We're honored to have his participation in our chapter. He's doing a great job at membership. Thanks, a huge thanks to Sandra Paris for being the director of programming, for overseeing the programming committee, for coordinating all those events that you saw, for bringing quality to the chapter. Thank you very much. To Isaiah Martin for serving as the director of marketing and producing some content for us. And then thanks to Nick Spinks for serving as the director of volunteers. Thanks to Clay, who's been around this chapter for a very long time, always seems to have sage advice for a lot of different scenarios that we find ourselves caught up in. So deep gratitude there. Thanks to Lynn Cotton, who has really done an extraordinary job of stepping up in a number of different ways, bringing in speakers, even a speaker for WOW, helping out with that community day, that volunteering event. Thanks to Mike Ortiz, director at large, new member of the board for us. So we were really excited to have him. Look forward to all that he's going to bring. And then, of course, what would this chapter be without Alexis Perdereau Weeks, the immediate past president? Thanks very much to Alexis for continuing to serve and continuing to volunteer in this chapter. So a huge round of thanks to everybody who participated in the past year and made it happen. Really extraordinary job. And then this year we had a nominations committee that consisted of Michael Bayer and Sandy Trujillo, both of whom are former board of directors members as well. They led up the nominations committee, which makes our elections happen, makes a smooth transition of power, I guess you can call it. So thanks everybody there for a great job. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Sandra, Sandy, for making that happen. Much appreciation. And so now we're going to look at some the incoming board, which I did mention is going to include a lot of the same faces, which we're really happy about. So thank you for being willing to come back. And some of these people even said that they will be willing to hop on real quick and kind of make sure that they got to say a couple of words about how excited they are. So I'm going to bring in some of these people now to make sure, and I put an asterisk by their name so that I wouldn't mess this part up. So I'm going to bring in some of our incoming board members as well right now, and make sure that they get an opportunity to say hello and to introduce themselves. So maybe the first thing I can do is pass it off to Tina Honey.
It probably would have helped if I would have took the mute off.
No problem.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the incoming board. This is going on my final year as the VP, but I'm still excited to serve, excited to work with all of the organizations that I've worked with Sandra with to help create a lot of those programs. And so strap up and get ready, because I'm always, finding new programs. So I'm ready to work with everyone and get moving forward. Welcome.
Awesome. Thanks, Tina. All right. How about, do we have Maria?
Sure thing. Hello, everybody. Okay, this will be my third year serving as a director of certifications. And I just want to thank Rob and Tina and, and Pete and everybody in the board, Clay, for all the support, for, Alexis. It becomes, another part of my heart, and it's a lot of work. Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not, but at the end of the day, serving our community is the best we can do, and I'm thrilled and I enjoy every single day. So thank you, everybody, and I will continue serving you the rest of this year.
Wonderful. And how about, do we have, Ryan Barras, a new board member. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, thank you, Rob. Well, pleasure to meet everyone that I can see on video and those that I cannot. I'm a fairly new member to both the organization and to the board, and thank you for putting your trust in and allowing me to participate on the board. It sounds like I've got some pretty big shoes to fill with Sandra that's leaving us, and it's just a coincidence that our last names are very similar as well. In any case, I come from the ITSM side, ITIL expert. I've trained hundreds of IT professionals in ITSM and service management, and I did so at Lennar as well. And a couple of years ago, the CISO asked me to join his team, and so I've been on the cybersecurity team for about 2.5 years now. I've seen names here on the list that I recognize, including Isaiah, and I've met a few people in person, despite the COVID crisis. Maymet and I had a chance to meet. I've spoken to a number of you already, and I'm looking forward to putting together a good program and continuing, Sandra's legacy. And I'm hoping to be able to incorporate and focus a little bit on all of the hype that we're seeing around Miami being the technology center, right? There's so much energy around that right now. And I think there's a way for us to capitalize on that and to help foster a welcoming environment for the growth of our IT community, which in the end benefits us all. So that's it in a nutshell. Don't want to monopolize the rest of the meeting here, but thanks again, everyone. Look forward to meeting you, hopefully in person. I've already noted that, an item high on the list seems to be happy hours and free drinks. So we'll do our best. It sounds like my type of crowd. All right, thanks everyone. Back to you, Rob.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks so much. And how about How about another new member of the board, Walter Rodriguez?
Good evening, ISACA Board of Directors, ISACA members, and esteemed guests. My name is Walter Rodriguez. I'm happy to be joining the board as Director of IT Governance. As Rob said, new face. You all will get to know me at the virtual events, in-person events, happy hours, whatever we end up with in the near future. You will all get to know me. I'm currently a CISO. I've worked in the legal space for 17 plus years, large international law firm, and I hold 3 of the ISACA certifications that you showed on the poll. I look forward to meeting a lot of the members that I currently know that are ISACA certified, and I look forward to meeting those that I don't know. I look forward to any opportunities where I can mentor anyone that's looking to get into the space, whether it's governance, risk, security. And so anything I can do, I'm sure, Rob, you'll put up our information. I'm an open book, so please feel free to reach out to me. And if there's anything I can do for you, I will do my best. I look forward to meeting with the board and determining where I can be of assistance in order to move the mission forward for ISACA South Florida and ISACA International. Back to you, Rob. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Walter. And I know that she's there, so I just wanted to see if Sandra Paris wanted to also say any words as well. And I don't want to mean to call you on the spot, Sandra. So just in case you want to.
I just want to say it's a great, sorry, my video. It's a great group. Welcome to the incoming board. And we have a lot of fun, even with the pandemic. So get ready. It will be quite an adventure. And a lot of the people who are on the board have become like almost like family. I won't say family, but close enough to have the dysfunction of a family. So get ready. And to everyone who's attending tonight, and thank you for being here. And Sanjay, thank you so much for always supporting us. We look forward to working with all of you next year in different events, including virtual happy hours. Maybe we can invent some cocktails or something, the ISACA South Florida mojitos or something like that. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Sandra. Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I could see we're going to need to make this happen one way or another. So thanks very much to everybody who was able to come on. I really appreciate that. And the chapter, I'm sure, loves to get to see your faces and hopes to see them more in the near future as well. And speaking of which, there's a couple of, I know we're running it right at the end here, but I just wanted to make sure that we showed the future events coming up. And I wanted to actually present a couple of real quick polls before we kind of wrap up to make sure that we gather some additional information from you about things that maybe you want to hear about in the future. So as we're going through this calendar, let me go ahead and put up another poll real quick, which is content topics that you would like to hear about in the future. And I'm launching a poll now. So please feel free to go ahead and vote on that as I kind of talk about some of the upcoming events. And you can actually vote for more than one thing. So don't hesitate if you're interested in more than one thing to vote for more than one thing. All right, so coming up on May 20th, we have our Tech Hub Joint Career Expo, which you heard us talk about and which was very important to a number of members of leadership here to make sure we're supporting people and finding jobs and also supporting inclusive environments. So that's going to be a great conversation there about that on May 20th. On May 25th, there's a joint event with HIMSS that is a panel discussion about information security and healthcare. Don't miss it. It's going to be great. And then also on June 4th, there's a joint event with SIM where we're having a SecOps, security operations panel discussion. It's going to be a lot of talking about Security Operations Center, SOCs, SOC. So a lot of great discussion around that conversation. And then in June 16th, actually, what I see is like a fascinating topic, cybersecurity in pharma, which I thought was just really amazing that we're coming up with such engaging conversations. So I really look forward to that on June 16th. And then I'm going to go ahead and share the results of the first poll now, which are topics that people are interested in hearing about. Some perennial stuff that always comes back. Cybersecurity never gets old, right? Cloud, more and more a part of our daily life. Then you see some things like NIST NIST frameworks, the cybersecurity framework, for example, as one of them. Other frameworks as well, HIPAA, SOC 2, COBIT, ISO 27000 frameworks, artificial intelligence, blockchain and cryptocurrency, other things that people are interested in. So I'm going to stop sharing those results real quick, and I'm going to actually share one final poll of something that I would love to, I think a number of us would love to hear from you about, and that is, as we're kind of talking about some of these upcoming events, when would you be ready to do some of those things in person? No pressure whatsoever. It's just we're gathering information so that we can make good decision and good planning about when you would be ready to do these things in person. I think we can say that it's fair to say that that's knowing what you know at this time, which of course involves some uncertainty. That's a fair thing to say. And then I think it's also with a risk management crowd, with risk management professionals, I think it goes as another fair thing to say that we would do this taking certain precautions that you found to be reasonable, right? Whether it's socially distancing or finding a way to meet outside or limiting capacity or all, spacing, all different kinds of things to make sure that this happened in a way that you felt comfortable with. But we would love to, hear when you would kind of be ready for that, whether you're ready now, Q3 of 2021, so like July, August, September, Q4, so October, November, December, next year, January, February, March, Q1 of 2022, etc. Or you're just not sure, because some people, maybe they're just not there yet as far as their decision-making process. Absolutely something that we're interested in knowing as well. I'll keep going on the calendar. That we've got great events coming up in July, an inverting vulnerability management event where we've got a really interesting presentation that we'll be talking a lot about in the future. An ISO 27000 training, a 2-day training that will cover a lot of content about ISO 27000 put on by our own director of membership, Mehmet. We're thrilled about that training that's going to be coming up. And then another thing that's already on the calendar for September 13th is standards versus hackers versus lawmakers. Let's cover the whole gambit. So you can see we're already planning way out into the future, and we're planning to meet in the way that you feel comfortable with, which it looks like, of course, as we can expect, is going to vary according to person, right? So some people are going to be ready, some people are not. We know that we're going to be doing hybrid both in the future when we do resume, right? So there will continue to be virtual aspects of what we do. Some people are ready now. 34% are ready now. Some people will be ready in Q3 and Q4. We can see another 11, 13%. And then some people kind of towards the early next year. And then there's still a quarter of us who we're just not sure yet, right? Just don't know. Very fair thing to say, something important for us to know. So I'll stop sharing those results. We'll make sure that we take that as part of our planning, that we go back into the future. And then don't forget, I'm actually overtime now. So I'm gonna just wrap up this real quick, and then make sure that you send any questions that you have to us. You can reach us. Our director of volunteering, our incoming director is Chibuese Alutu, going to be coming in. You can talk to our incoming programming director, Ryan Barras, by emailing him at programming@ISACA South Florida. You can talk to our incoming communications director, V. Doe. We're thrilled about her participating and joining our chapter. You can talk to our incoming director of academic relations, Domingo Castillo. Thrilled to have him back. So glad that he moved back to South Florida. So he's going to be doing a lot with these universities that you see here, as well as many others. And you can talk to Ashtam, our Director of Corporate Relations. You can, of course, continue partnering with us. There's a number of organizations that partnered with us this year. We're very thankful for. And then, of course, you can reach out to any of us by going directly to ISACA South Florida. And then there's a contact us here at ISACASouthFlorida.org. You can reach out to us directly. You can also see all of our members who are going to be here under the About tab. Our leadership is here. This is the outgoing leadership, and the incoming leadership will be appearing here. You can email anybody directly by clicking on their name. So all this is at our chapter website. So with that said, it looks like the final question that came in is probably the very relevant one for the end of the session, and that says, "We're ready to party. Go get your shots." Okay, all right, everybody. Let's get ready to get back together and have some fun. And thanks very much, everybody. Thank you, all of you, for serving, for continuing to serve, and for everything that you do. Thanks to the incoming board. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Good night, all.